Whenever his power surges, he can't control it and ends up revealing his true form. He is a hot-tempered, rhino-like creature, but the moment he sees Nick, a Grimm descendant, the fear buried deep in his bones is impossible to hide. This time, though, Nick isn't here to hunt him down. He's here to ask about a double murder case. Last night, in the woods outside Portland, an old man was attacked by a monster right outside his own home. By the time his wife found him, he had already been disemboweled. Tragically, the old woman didn't escape the monster either, and just as the creature was crouched on the ground, devouring chunks of raw meat, a group of hunters on horseback suddenly appeared outside. The monster seemed terrified of them and immediately turned to run, but it didn't get far before they surrounded it. In the end, the hunters dragged the monster away and disappeared into the forest. The next day, when police arrived at the scene, all they found were 2 bodies and a half-eaten steak left on the ground. Based on the torn wounds on the victims, the police initially believed it was the work of a wild animal, but Nick felt something was off. If it really was a wild beast, why wasn't the steak completely eaten and the bodies had only wounds? There were no signs that the flesh had been eaten. Nick and Hank found a mess of horse tracks around the house. Following the tracks, they made their way deep into the forest. Besides a long drag mark on the ground, Nick also found a broken piece that had apparently fallen off a saddle, and judging by the way it looked, it seemed like something from the medieval era. Using fingerprints found on the bodies, the police matched a suspect named Dima, who had just been released on parole 2 weeks ago. Before officially arresting Dima, Nick and Hank decided to talk to his parole officer first. The officer, Tim, found it hard to believe that Dima could have done something like this. After all, Dima had behaved well in prison, which was why he was given parole in the first place. Just a week ago, Dima had even contacted him and said he was working at a nearby gym. But when Nick and Hank arrived at the gym, the manager told them Dima hadn't shown up for work in a week. No one had been able to reach him either. The manager suggested they talk to Brian, who was close to Dima and was working out nearby. Maybe he knew something. Nick quickly realized that Brian was actually a rhino-like creature too. And the second Brian saw Nick, a Grimm descendant, he completely panicked. That fear of Grimms is something Wesson are born with. But Nick wasn't there to cause Brian any trouble. He just wanted information about Dima. Once Brian calmed down, he told Nick that a week ago, he and Dima were out running in the forest together when Dima suddenly disappeared. And since then, he hadn't seen him for days. Brian then took Nick and Hank to the place where they usually ran. It was less than 5 kilometers from the old couple's house, very close to the murder scene, which meant it was highly possible that Dima ran from there to commit the murders. Just then, Hank got a call from a colleague. Dima's car had been found near an abandoned warehouse. With no other choice, Nick and Hank immediately headed to the scene. Brian, still focused on his run, had no idea Nick and Hank had already left, and he definitely didn't notice that a mysterious rider on horseback had already set his sights on him.